here are these two. There are actually two little paintings done when I was in Sussex for a couple of years, 56 to 58, and had become aware of three-dimensional flat in Sussex. And these two things were called reconnaissance and skirmish. And they eventually led to the beginnings of doing things with nails, which started a couple of years later when I moved to Ottawa. Of one of the nail things during the 1972, 73 to 80 era. I did a whole series of things that I called arenas. And you'll see as the light moves around, you got different kinds of aspects of the whole thing. A reflective piece of metal in the middle, angle, and here we have a kind of various vistas of probably Stony Lake or some northern place with islands and lakes. And again, it moves quite a bit as light moves or as a person moves. And certainly looks much better when you look at it more or less at eye level and get the real effect of the reflections. Excavation, about 1975 or 6, and originally when I was showing it, I had it flat with a lot of white sand on it so that in fact you could actually excavate the thing yourself with your fingers. The one commemorated down after having completed a mural for the company that made those particular extrusions. Some Van Gogh that I did during the 60s somewhere when there was in London at least, when the big Van Gogh exhibition was on. And then again, really for my own amusement. Up above is one also done somewhere in the strange little dark nails. Came from an ironmonger in Ware in Essex who was trying to get rid of a lot of nails that he had in his basement, and I came upon these, which are cast iron, and I never really know what they were for, except that I suspect maybe the kinds of nails that one put in oak doors as studs. Here are two maquettes, small versions of something that became much larger. This one was the first of 4 maquettes that I did before eventually ending up with a 6 foot by 6 foot thing for a church in the east end of Toronto, the west end of Toronto. And below it is a maquette, which in fact is what suggested the next large nailie that we're going to look at. So here we come to a larger nailie, approximately 6 feet by 6 feet diagonally, and a sort of summer on the upper part was all of them. And you can see that as we play around with the lights, that does make quite a lot of difference one way and another. I'd love always to think of someone having one of these things with a super tape dimmer type bunch of lights on it so that it was moving all the time. We're beginning to get to the point where the sonic effect of these things comes in, and we'll be seeing more of that later in some of the other ones. Very subtle. What I think of as vaguely Japanese. More about that later. I think the last painting I did in 1962 before going to England for 12 years. And it was done at the same time that I had done about the first 20 of my nails. I think you can see in this both the fact that it's kind of influenced by the nails, and it's also very much influenced by the fact that I studied paleontology and geology at university, and a lot of this series of paintings, of which you'll see another couple in the studio, were definitely kind of fossil-oriented. It's the third most recent nailie, and it's one that I did sometime in the spring. And I think when you look at it, it's a sort of mandala. It's a sort of animus, anima. It's whatever you like to make it, really. One of my things about my work is that I don't like to try and explain them too much. I feel that what I want people to do is to have their own creative experience when they look at them. So in other words, it's a thing to contemplate. It's a way through. It's a masculine, feminine. It's some kind of opposites one way and another, but with a single thread running through the whole thing. And also, if I was beginning to be on anything but a mixture of some of my painting plus the nails, and a series that I did in 1985, I think. About 1970. Long arena, approximately the same sort of period. Which was another of my arena series back in the early 70s. 72 or 3, I guess. 1960s. The top one was called Mesozoic, as I remember it, and actually appeared in an article on me in Canadian Art back in about 1961. What became called Caldera, done about 1986, and after I'd finished it, I couldn't think what to call it until it did become something which we then looked up. I think I got it out of a crossword puzzle or something, but a caldera is the sort of business end of a volcano. And it's obviously a kind of cratered thing with the center section, possibly lava messing about inside. But other than that, it's what anyone wants to think about. Old ground or that sort. Someone has suggested an old shield of some sort. And early mid-70s, called Floating Valley. Again, the reflective thing is important to it, really. And there is a larger one at the McDonald Block, which is nearly 12 feet high, which was called Flight of Mountains, which is something that is quite interesting, I think. Working up to a thing called Makes of It. Coming down to Sanctuary. This maquette suggested the one that we saw inside the new room in the house, the mandala-like one, the animus anima thing. It isn't exactly the same thing at all, but it's what brought the other one on. quite often in working, if I have a commission or anything, I can dream up something, and then it leads very easily into a larger work. And then sometimes I simply do a maquette of one sort and another, like this one, for instance, and it helped me start on a larger one, which was not preconceived in a sense. But, This is, I think, either the first or second nailing. I don't know what it was in 1959. The piece of wood was plywood, and I had the nails, and it was the first of the things was done. Paint sort of more or less dripped on top of it and whatnot. Down to something that was called In Orbit. The one's really experimenting to try and make some sort of a musical instrument type thing. So here are three noisy nailies, as I sometimes refer to them. I think they're my answer to the fact I never managed to play a musical instrument properly. And they have now done about 10 or 12, I suppose, one sort and another. The Canadian percussion group Nexus have actually played one in Tokyo and Brussels and in Peking or Beijing. And they do have this all of them have this effect, and of course they have been used at times for collecting money. And is probably the most percussive one that I've done. And again, of course, the inimitable